Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we are whipping up a gorgeous rose and clay cleansing balm. So the initial concept for this cleansing balm was actually a seaweed and clay cleansing balm, and I made up a version and I tested it and it worked beautifully, but seaweed smells disgusting. So rather than endure a kind of fishy scented cleansing balm, I decided to use powdered roses instead, and that is a massive improvement. Well, you could definitely use powdered seaweed in this cleansing balm if you're a really big fan of the smell of seaweed. Yeah, I didn't. This cleansing balm is pretty darn simple. The bulk of it is two inexpensive liquid emollients, fractionated coconut oil and isopropyl myristate. I chose these two because they're inexpensive and lightweight, so with that thinking, you can choose really anything that's inexpensive and lightweight that you have on hand. Something like grapeseed oil, sunflower oil, or safflower oil would also work beautifully for both or either. Our emulsifier, the ingredient that gives this cleansing balm its gorgeous rinse off and that sort of oily to milk consistency when blended with water, I've chosen PEG 40 hydrogenated castor oil, but if you're looking for alternatives, make sure you're reading the blog post linked in the description box below. For the rose and clay part, of course, we have a hefty dose of white kaolin clay and some rose powder. You could use a different pink clay if you want, but keep in mind this can get really messy, so I decided to stick with white kaolin clay. You could even do a little bit of a blend of white kaolin clay and like a pink Australian clay or a red kaolin clay, so maybe 3% off of the white clay to add a little bit of color with the colored clay, but without making a really messy end product. And then the whole thing is thickened up to a gorgeous, silky, slippy consistency with some cetyl alcohol. As always, if you're looking for substitutions, information on scaling, links to places to buy all of the ingredients, all of that is included in the blog post, which is linked in the description box below. But come on, let's get started. We'll begin by combining all of our ingredients in a small heat-resistant glass measuring cup. You'll need 12 grams fractionated coconut oil, 10 grams isopropyl myristate, 7.5 grams PEG 40 hydrogenated castor oil, and if you need substitutions, please make sure you're reading the blog post linked in the description box below, 8 grams cetyl alcohol, 10 grams white kaolin clay, and 2.5 grams powdered roses. And you can make this yourself by running some dried rose buds through a DIY-only coffee grinder. We'll use a water bath to melt everything through. So this is a small saucepan that has about an inch or 3 centimeters of water in the bottom of it. And then I'll just pop the measuring cup in here, and we will go put this on the stove top for about 20 minutes to melt everything through. And left undisturbed, once everything is melted, you should just have a layer of powders on the bottom of the measuring cup and a layer of liquid oils that float to the top. Once everything is melted, you can remove the pan from the stove and then remove the measuring cup from the water bath. So to cool this, we are going to use an ice bath. So this is a bowl that has about 1.5 inches of water frozen on the bottom of it, so 1.5 inches of ice with about 1 inch of water put on top of it. So I'm just gonna stir this on the dish towel for a wee while. We don't wanna take glassware straight from the heat and put it into an ice bath in a very short period of time. Even though this is shatter resistant glass, let's not tempt fate by heat shocking it more than we have to. Okay, that has been out of the hot water bath for about a minute, so now I'm going to transfer it to our ice bath, and we're going to be stirring constantly until we reach trace. Depending on how thick your glassware is, this can happen quite quickly or quite slowly. If your glassware is thinner than mine, you will notice it happen faster. If you're making a larger batch than I am, you'll notice it happen slower. If you're using plastic or metal, it will happen very, very quickly. So I do recommend using glass, a nice, heat shock resistant glass, rather than plastic or metal, because it happens so quickly that it makes it really quite challenging to achieve trace and then pour before things get too thick. So as I'm stirring, I'm making sure I'm scraping off the bottom of the measuring cup. Of course, that is the part that is in contact with the ice there, so it's going to cool the fastest, and so make sure you are scraping that up and incorporating that back in. You can see the tip of my spatula has some more sort of firmer, viscous bits of the balm. As you start to notice the product thickening, it's helpful to pull it out of the ice bath to sort of slow things down. This is definitely getting close to where we want it to be. So what we're looking for is the ability to kind of drizzle the spatula over the surface and have it leave just a little bit of a trace. And there it is. We've got our trace. So now it's time to quickly package this up. For packaging, I am using this cute little plastic jar from Humblebee. This was gifted, and so just make sure you are really keeping that moving, and then we're just gonna quickly pour this in here. And now I'm going to go transfer this to the fridge to completely set up. And now for a bit of a use demo, I've put a little bit of eyeliner on the back of my hand so you can see how it works. Just grab some of the leftovers from our measuring cup. So you can see there that the eyeliner has already, completely broken down and come off. This is ever so slightly exfoliating. That rose powder does have just a titch of texture to it, but it's not really scrubby. It's quite appropriate for the face. And then we'll get a little bit of water on there. And you can see that it goes from this creamy, oily consistency to a creamy, milky consistency, and that is the emulsifier in there, sort of allowing the balm to self-emulsify with the water. And so not only does that give a really neat milky consistency, but it also means that the balm is really easy to rinse off the skin. All right, and here is the finished Rose and Clay Cleansing Balm. It's got a really lovely consistency too. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and please remember to read the partner blog post, which is linked in the description box below. You'll find a lot more information there, including information on substitutions, scaling, shelf life, where to buy ingredients, and a whole lot more. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.